All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for staying to the end. Always tough to be the last show and tell. So as mentioned, my name is Ofri, and together with Nadav, who's my co-founder and sits in Tel Aviv and runs our R&D team, we're the co-founders of Pixoneye. Now, about 5 years ago, before founding Pixoneye, I served as the senior marketing manager to the Minister of Tourism in Israel, responsible for all the marketing, digital marketing, mobile, out of home. And one of my last tasks there was to launch a very segmented mobile campaign to Israel's two biggest tourist markets. Now, a little parentheses, a bit trivia about Israeli tourism. The two biggest markets to Israel are the evangelical community from the southern side of the United States, what we call the Bible Belt, who come to walk where Jesus walked on the Galilee, and the gay and lesbian community, who come to Tel Aviv, who was named third most open city after Berlin and San Francisco in 2014. Both great markets. Two markets you never, ever want to confuse your messaging to, which could be quite detrimental to the state. The last thing I wanted was an evangelical priest to get an in-app invite to Tel Aviv's Gay Pride Parade. And so I started looking at what options are there to understand mobile users, and started digging really deep and kept getting the same spiel: geolocation, time of day, device, browsing patterns, purchasing behavior, social media listening, which we all know is the worst. And I really wanted to see what else is out there. And so one of the things that mobile devices have that no other way of segmentation does have is, you named it, personal photo galleries. They tell so much about us, and we take pictures of everything and anything. And that's when I joined Nadav, my co-founder. He was former head of computer vision at Samsung. He wrote the facial recognition algorithm that sits on the Galaxy devices. And we founded Pixoneye. And before you go crazy, the answer is yes. Pixoneye analyzes people's personal photo galleries and videos that they have stored on their device in order to extract some very clever data completely anonymously. So how do you analyze people's personal photos and not go to jail the next day, you ask? That's an excellent question. And that's where Pixoneye comes in. Over the past 3 years, we developed some very unique technology, all wrapped together in an SDK, or a software developer's kit. This tech actually utilizes the CPU and the GPU, the computing powers of your device, to teach it how to analyze its own photos, meaning that at no time do we see the photos, touch the photos, or even move them to a temporary folder. All you have to do is take that SDK, embed it into your existing app. We don't have an app, we're just the tech. And that SDK goes on and teaches the device how to analyze its own photos and extract up to 150 characteristics about each user, anything you can imagine. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because we're on the device constantly and training on the device, every new photo you take gets automatically added to your understanding. And what we started realizing, there's specific life events, and this is where the joint forces with the financial services, insurers especially, came into play. There's specific life events that create very unique and very patternable sections on your photo gallery. For example, when you're buying a new home, there's a very clear pattern that appears on your photo gallery. If it's pictures of empty rooms, furniture standalone, pictures of houses from the outside in different geolocations than your house, print screens of floor plans, you name it. And we were able, because we're on the device, to pick up on these patterns and tell our clients, hey, 2% of your clientele has an 85% probability of moving home in the next 3 months. And that's the real core of Pixoneye, is how do we find these life events, these wallet-opening moments for insurers, and be able to reach those clients directly. So let me show you what that looks like to one of our clients, which is the insurer. Once the SDK is installed into the brand's app, into the insurer's app, our insurers get a platform to understand this data that we've analyzed. And it's very simple and intuitive to use, to the point that an underwriter can do it. Kidding, that wasn't a joke. So when we look at the screen, first thing you see is a nice breakdown of your actual population. You can tell here demographics just based on their photo gallery, age distribution based on the photo gallery, lifestyle distribution. Are they smokers? Do they like hobbies? Do they play sports? Where they're from in the world, and what device they use. And then right here in the middle, you get a little nice life event section where you can see which type of users are about to have a baby or about to move home in the future. And what you can do with this is quite neat. So the first things you can do is, first of all, if you have access to their user IDs, and I'll use my user ID now, if you have a CRM with device ID, which we double hash, you can click it in here, search, and get the actual card per user. This is my device ID, not to put any of you on the spot. I am male, I don't have any kids, I do love hiking, and I do have a great dog, which if my phone was able to connect, you would have seen a full picture of, ironically for a Jewish man named Bacon. And so that's one step, but that's only open if you actually have access to their device ID. What's really neat is, without ever knowing who the user is, you can start clustering them into groups. So by going to clusters, I can create new cluster. I can pick male or female. Let's take them both. With children. And just literally pick the items that I want who are, let's say, about to move home. Name this cluster moving home. Apply. And then that cluster becomes part of my cluster list. And then once I've created these clusters, all I have to do, and this is where our big so what factor comes in, once I've created these clusters and I want to engage with them, because let's face it, you always find out about the move after it's done, I can go simply from our platform to prompt, create new push notification, select the cluster that I want to push to. Let's take new home. Give them the title. Hey, thinking of moving home. All right. Click here for a 20%, I'm being generous, discount on your home insurance. Put in the destination where I want that click to go and hit send. And that's it. Now that push notification is being sent to only people who have an 85% probability of or higher of moving home in the next 3 months. And that's great because the level of engagement based on that clarification we see today is around between 70 to 85% engagement with these kind of very tailored, specific push, which you can do literally from the platform of Pixoneye, and then obviously track it to see what the click engagement is, how many of those transferred into creating an insurance policy. And finally, we have personalize, which allows you to actually play around with your app a little bit. So if you have specific items or units in your app that display content, educational material, maybe a new offer that you're putting out on a specific insurance, all you have to do is add new item, put in the group item name, what unit it comes in. This is if you run your own app or if you have an agency doing it for you, and recommended by clusters. So I want it to only go to parents. So when you open the app or when you open the app, you get completely different engagement or completely different homepage of the app. And that's it, and everything is obviously trackable from the platform. So that's Pixoneye in a nutshell. The idea here is that Pixoneye is a complete enabler. And in this world of GDPR and the uncertainties, first of all, Pixoneye is completely GDPR compliant. And the reason being is that at no time any data leaves the device. And this is the real IP of the company. It's the ability to take the SDK, put it on the app. As soon as the user downloads the SDK, they go through a process of accepting permissions based on a give and get relationship with the insurer. And once they've given that permission, and we see today about 75% acceptance, as long as the give-get is quality. So as soon as they've given that permission, Pixoneye starts analyzing their photos on their device. And when the brand wants to engage with them, they actually don't know who they're engaging with, because the brand or the push notification goes out to all the devices. And only on those devices where the SDK understands that the recipient is valid to the push or to the cluster created, does it let the push go through. So pretty much it's about knowing exactly what your customers need without ever knowing who they are. That's my time. You guys have been a great audience. I've been Ofri Ben Parat from Pixoneye. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the evening.